Olá, esse é o Linha de Frente e hoje nós temos um convidado internacional, uma das maiores autoridades em sustentabilidade na indústria no mundo, o Dr. Florian Kongoli, que nos deu a honra de conversar conosco diretamente de Montreal. Então, essa entrevista vai ser feita em inglês, ela está sendo gravada e vai ser exibida a partir do dia 24, e para que as legendas sejam inseridas. Então, a partir de agora, eu vou falar em inglês e as legendas serão inseridas em português. Well, I'd like to meet Dr. Florian. Thank you very much for being with us, Dr. Florian. It's a great pleasure. As I said in Portuguese a few moments ago, you are one of the greatest authorities, most recognized authorities in sustainability in industrial processing in the world. And also, you are the curator and the organizer of the greatest show on earth about sustainability. It happens every year, and in 2018, we had the pleasure of having you here and with 7 Nobel Prizes in Rio de Janeiro. So thank you very much for this opportunity.
Thank you also, Mario. The pleasure is mine.
Well, Dr. Florian, let's start a little bit from the beginning. In the 90s, you started Flogen Technologies, a startup. Yes. Even before people use this term, startups. And I would like you to talk a little bit about this moment in your life, this period in your life.
The idea came by finding out that the normal many possibilities that exist in the industry. In terms of the time, by the way, the name sustainability was not a familiar name as today. In 1992, it was a conference in Rio de Janeiro that determined the first definition of the word. But independently of this, without even hearing the name sustainability, I found out the huge opportunities to improve the industrial processes in terms of reducing the energy, decreasing costs, increasing at the same time the quality of the products, and reducing the waste. By chance, this is also sustainability. And this happened by visiting so many and working for so many big industries. So in 1997 and 1998, I was invited in Western Mining Corporation in Australia. We passed working for them for about 1 year, improving their processes. And then we had 2 projects separately with Mitsubishi and Sumitomo in Japan. So basically all this experience directly to the industry in 2 different continents told me and taught me the huge opportunity that exists in the industry to improve those processes, which, if we use the terms today, is to make them sustainable processes.
Yeah,
so
2 things about
sustainability in our company came so natural, even with now knowing the term of sustainability.
Okay.
So this is how the idea came up, and we found out that it's a huge opportunity to create this startup that deals with this, not only making the existing industry sustainable, using the term of today, but at the same time, developing new technologies that achieve the same goals, which, with the same terms today, are new sustainable technologies.
Okay, you talked about Sumitomo and Mitsubishi, and it was during this period in Japan, right? That you had your PhD at the Tohoku University.
That's a interesting story. We had projects with Mitsubishi and Sumitomo, and those projects were very successful. And I was advised that this work done for Mitsubishi and Sumitomo to be put in a PhD form, because it was enough. Actually, they told me there are 2 or 3 different PhD in that work, but we concentrated only the main non-confidential information, and we put it together as a PhD and as a PhD thesis. And this was the story of my PhD. Was approved by a committee in Tohoku University, where the industry had cooperation with, and I knew great professor like Professor Yazawa and others. So this is the story. This is the story.
I see. Let me ask you a question. 2 years ago, we were together in the American Chemical Society exhibition in Orlando, and I had the opportunity of seeing you talking to many scientists, yes, and all of them, they would make comments like you're the guy to be observed about sustainability, to be heard about sustainability. And I've realized that this admiration that the Academy has for you has to do that you never stopped being a scientist, right? You're proud of being a scientist even nowadays. So what's your lab routine? How many days a year do you spend in a lab?
Well, essentially every day.
I see.
Essentially every day. And also we visit frequently many different industrial companies, which is part of my routine also. You know, it is a challenging question that how much you have to work yourself and how much you have to delegate. But in science, delegating in science is not so evident. So if you are not fully there, fully dealing with science, it's very hard to delegate. So in that terms, it's my pleasure to deal all the time. I'm curious myself to have my hands on the different projects. So participating actively, and also managing other people dealing in different projects. Part of that, it's my hobby and my necessity to go to industrial companies and speak with them. It is one of the pleasures of my scientific activity, applied scientific activity, because it's basic and applied. We are, as a company, we are in the middle. We apply the scientific knowledge to the industry. So our goal is application, because also sustainability deals with application. But you have to start with basics and apply those basic science. So one of the most interesting part of my scientific life is I enjoy very much being with industry. That's why the time I am at the industry is one of my highlights, besides being in the lab in my office working on these projects.
One thing that I've noticed is that most scientists, they have a hard time linking their findings, their discoveries with the market, with the companies.
That's
and you're an exception in this world, in this science world, in the academy world. You're very successful as an entrepreneur too. Yes, you've even been chosen as CEO of the year in the environmental category. Yes, environmental CEO of the year by the CEO Monthly
2017.
Magazine. 2017. What is the secret of keeping like the academic research, the scientific research in a very high profile, and also being high profiled in the entrepreneurship as a business?
Well, it's normal. It's normal. I mean, it's nothing wrong to being a fully basic scientist dealing only with fundamental. But you know, having both, it's not routine. It's not something usual. And we are essentially, as a company, directly at that position. So we apply everything. We deal with fundamental science. We help to develop fundamental science, but our mindset is always at the application. It's a question of mindset. And in terms of linking together the science, the application, and entrepreneurship, that's came natural now from this point of view, from the point of view of today. If I look back, I do not see some special arrangement I did. It's just just my mindset. You have to link science with its application, but also you have to manage this. Without management, you cannot do, you cannot go ahead. That's why I came to it's a different story, but that's why it came to my mind to create a new sustainability framework where science, it's a table with basically 3 pillars. One is science and technology, one is management and government, and one is education and civil society. So it's basically, everything goes around with these this concept, this framework of sustainability with 3 pillars. And we cover them both. We cover science and technology, management, governance. We don't do it because it's on a political level, but also education. So basically, we are the synthesis of this concept. This concept reflects us.
I see.
There's a German artist, statesman, scientist. Basically, he had all in 18th century. Is Johann Wolfgang von Goethe. He had an expression, speaking is a necessity, but listening is an art.
Right.
So this is listening is our strong point. We listen to the industry, we listen to the academia, we link together both of those. But this is a 19th century, 18th century, saying. It's not enough today. You have to hear, which is an art, you have to speak, but you have to apply. And on top of that, you have to apply sustainably.
Yes.
So if I develop further this von Goethe expression, is we can say that you have to hear as an art, you have to speak as a necessity, you have to apply in a sustainable way. So this second part is my addition to his saying.
Yeah, one thing that I find quite interesting as a matter of fact, is that you have this natural talent of science. You deal along very well in the academia. You're very respected in the academia. But at the same time, as I said, as an entrepreneur, you've met many outstanding CEOs in the world. Yes, like I've seen a picture of yours with Richard Branson and other great guys that go along in covers of the most important magazines in the world. But you don't forget this link, the need to have this link. You promote, organize, and you're the curator of SIPS, Sustainable Industrial Processing Summit and Exhibition, an international event that started in the beginning of the century. Yes. 2003, yes. And that by the end of the year is going to be taking place in Phuket Island, in Thailand. And every year you go to a different place. And I had the opportunity of meeting you in Rio de Janeiro. Yes, and I've noticed the venues, Cancun, Rio de Janeiro, Paphos in Cyprus, Phuket Island now in Thailand. I mean, all these places are like beautiful places. Yes, they are usually very close to the beach. Is that a way of getting the scientists out of the laboratory? Because most scientists are like stuck, they're addicted to labs.
Well, in a certain point of view, yes. But this goes back to our idea, where actually it goes to sustainability. And linking together the basic science with application, with managing government and education. So basically everything is synthesized in our concept of sustainability framework.
Yes.
Basically scientists are known as a profession. Scientists, engineers, and academics are technologists are known as a profession that they do not enjoy life. They only work. There are horses working always on the field, and they have a concept that just work and then not so much enjoying life where they are serving so much. The society exists because of scientists, engineers, and technologists.
Yes.
And they do not respect themselves in that way. So many of the conferences are held in industrial areas, in when they are not interesting places. This has been our concept from the start. The best places in the world should belong to scientists, engineers, and technologists because they serve to the world, they develop the world. And this is also as an incentive for the young generation. Today, number of engineers, scientists, even in medicine, numbers are going down because this is a perception from the society. The society perceives these professions like work, no results of the work. You don't see you are not respected so much by the society compared to other professions like being an artist, being a musician, being a singer, etc., etc. And then they have no incentive coming to science and technology because we see all these other professions going in 5-star hotels, enjoying life, etc., etc. Scientists do not see that, and this is a concept within the mind of scientists also. Sometimes they say, "Oh, this is a very beautiful place." As a scientist, for us, it's good to have a 3-star hotel somewhere. It exists among the scientists. We are trying to change this concept, and that's why you choose the best places in the world. And the idea of creating SIPs, it just goes back to this hearing, the Goethe expression. Hearing is an art. SIPs brings together all fields of science, managing, government, etc., to hear each other. So makes an art of hearing. And then they speak to each other, they make presentations. But at the end of the day, we find the solutions, application, and how in a sustainable way.
And a very interesting
goes
thing
around to this.
Yeah, and a very interesting thing I find about SIPs, and I like the format very much, yes, is that it's not only theory. It's not only gathering a number of scientists in Rio de Janeiro, if I'm not mistaken, was something around 700 scientists. Yes, but it's not only presentations. Yes, not only for scientists, but you gather together entrepreneurs that will listen to the scientists, to the solutions, and they will probably invest in that, and governments that will help apply. So it's that thing you say, the three-legged table. Yes, science,
exactly,
business, and how fundamental is this for the success of SIPs?
Well, it has been very successful, and the bar from one SIPs to the other has gone up and up and up. From impressions of many scientists, entrepreneurs, business people, and engineers it's becoming better and better every year. Number of Nobel Prize winners coming has been multiplied. So this year we have 9 Nobel laureates, which is very important to have.
That is a world record, isn't it? 9 Nobel laureates in an exhibition.
Yes, exactly. That's a world record. Why they are so important? Because they have a history behind them. And most of the time, the Nobel Prize winners have been denigrated in the beginning. Nobody believed them in their discovery. There are different kind of stories. The size of their denigration has been different from one to the other. But so they were able to overpass the skepticism and the criticism from their colleagues, from their associations, and they because their discovery was how society acknowledged their discovery because of the application. If it would have stayed only in theory,
yes,
the chances of getting a Nobel Prize would have been almost zero.
I see.
But most of them has been applied from other scientists and other engineers, and this became so big, and this overpassed all this previous criticism and skepticism, because it was proven. It was proven in the reality.
Yes, this is interesting now that you mentioned this, that I had the chance of meeting, I had some interviews in CIPS, Rio de Janeiro. I had the pleasure of meeting Professor Sir Andre Gein, Russian, who is naturalized British. Yes, he teaches at
British, Russian, and
Dutch, if I'm not mistaken.
Dutch.
And his he teaches at the University of Manchester, if I'm not mistaken.
In UK, yes.
And at the age of 28, he levitated a frog, and people said that was ridiculous. What was the purpose of levitating a frog? And he won a prize called Ig Nobel Prize, exactly. 10 years later, that same discovery that made a frog levitated was used in super high-speed trains with his technology, and he won the Nobel Prize because of that.
Well, not exactly. He didn't get the Nobel Prize because of that, but that has been news. He got the Nobel Prize for
because of the graphene. Graphene. That's it. Sorry. Yeah. But that application
both have been applied.
Yeah, exactly.
Both have been applied. But also, this shows at that time he got an Ig Nobel Prize. I mean, for a discovery that nobody liked and nobody supported. But he continued with his work, and he continues non-stop now, by the way. It's exceptional. And he discovered graphene. Graphene in the beginning was not it was a pure academic discovery.
And now it's used even in shoes, right?
It was a pure competition shoes, yes. And it was discovered by accident.
By accident.
By accident.
I didn't know that.
Working in a different project. And then this scientific discovery got an explosion in various different applications in several years. In 10 years, you can have application. Has been a huge number of applications. So when you have this application, then this discovery is already proven. And whatever the critics at that time, they die naturally.
Yeah.
So this application is important to make it. That's why we CIPS and our company, but also CIPS has this goal in mind: application. Application proves all the theory. Whatever you can speak and speak and speak and speak, still there's a chance nobody believes.
Application is the secret.
Can get you a Nobel award, Nobel Prize. But that's why we invited, because to finish where I started, that's why we invite Nobel laureate for these reasons, to know about their discovery. It's one purpose. Second is to know the history of this, overpassing the critics, overpassing the skepticism, and having courage in their discoveries. This is a huge example, the best. You cannot find better example for young generation to come to science and to develop and to discover new things. And at the same time, these Nobel Prize winners, they need also to get in touch with engineers and technologies, which they normally do not get in touch with. And the last meeting in Cyprus, I asked them this idea I'm going to bring to you to meet with engineers. They liked it very much. Actually, they were asking me, where are the engineers? They didn't come in big numbers. I told them because they are still in technical session, but there were a good number came. So the Nobel Prize winners were interested to meet with engineers, technologists, and entrepreneurs. So it is a win-win situation, and the magic stands there.
I see. CIPS Rio was such a huge success that you were nominated, and then you later received the title of Honorary Citizen of Rio de Janeiro. Yes. How important is this recognition from the city of Rio for organizing and bringing 7 Nobel Prizes to the marvelous city?
Well, this was in Rio. We raised the bar.
Mm-hmm.
So as I said, we have raised the bar continuously, and the SIPs in Rio has been one of the best ever SIPs we ever organized.
Mm-hmm.
Something magical in Rio. That's why they say Cidade Maravilhosa. So
Yes.
meravigliosa city. It's something attractive. And I've been.
And now you're a carioca.
I'm a carioca, sure.
You're a carioca.
And actually, in spirit, I've been in carioca since I visited Rio about 10 years ago. I have been attached with Rio since that time, since my first visit.
You're even a big football fan, aren't you? You have a local club here in Rio de
Janeiro. I follow a lot. I'm a fan of Brazilian football and also the American club of Rio.
Yes,
so that I'm a big fan of that club.
Oh, so, interesting.
But it is just one of the. But Rio, in all point of view, basically, if I concentrated, I can say that I've been in love with Rio since my first visit.
Interesting.
So getting the honorary citizen from Rio de Janeiro is really a formalization of me being a carioca.
Good.
Because I felt carioca before.
Good.
Seriously. So and then getting officially this title makes me really proud.
It's a great responsibility.
Yes, so sure, because they told me during the ceremony I am now ambassador of Rio de Janeiro, which I already have started to do it since that time.
Good. Let's talk a little bit about the present days. The last year has been really tough for the world. A little more than a year ago, the World Health Organization declared COVID-19 a pandemic. Yes, and the numbers are of contamination and deaths are getting higher and higher. And we've just had a vaccine. As a matter of fact, half a dozen vaccines have been developed. Yes, some have been operational already. Yes. And I had the opportunity of reading your article that was written exactly a year ago. Yes.
In March 15.
Late
First
March.
interaction was March 15, but it was written in a formal format, March 25th.
Yeah, so
2020.
This program is going to be aired on the 24th, so a year. Yes, and exactly. The name of the article was COVID-19 Global Failure and Remedy, right?
Basically, in 4 days, it makes 1 year article.
Yeah, but global failure and remedy.
Exactly.
What could you? I was reading this article again for the interview. Yes, and I've noticed one thing. Do you have a crystal ball? Because I mean, you got almost everything right. Which mistakes did we make and we're still making so far? And how can we get used to this new reality?
How can I say that? Basically it goes to this, what I mentioned before, this sustainability concept.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of, this actually is the key of all my mindset.
Mm-hmm.
I mentioned there are 3 big failures of health systems in the world, global failures. First, because they didn't listen to the science, because there were predictions about this new SARS virus.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, it was considered in many articles as a time bomb.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody paid attention.
How long ago?
Well, I think it was 2006 or 2007.
Wow. So 15 years ago.
Yes. And then, so the first SARS happened in 2003, 2002, 2003. But it was contained, etc. So that was our first experience. There was no vaccine developed. And it was contained with classical means, no vaccine developed. They ignored it because it disappeared. Scientists are not supposed to do that. if something disappears, it didn't disappear because of science. It disappears because of the managing and is isolating people in China, and didn't have a worldwide spread. But when it was contained, nobody thought about that anymore. And there were many articles. The one saying exactly that a new SARS virus is a time bomb. It will come soon. Nobody from the health systems in several countries paid attention to that. So the articles were there. So ignoring the science was the first global failure from the health systems. It's their duty to read these articles. Okay. It's their duty to go to the government to say, we need money for this. We have to prevent this. The difference between public health system and normal medicine, public health system has to predict when there are already the symptoms and at the society, we see what happened. It's too late. So they didn't do that. So this was the second big failure, that all public health officials and systems around the world did not predict and did not act in a predictive way. They followed. They are always too late. But the virus this time was much wiser than before. They had the 2 weeks incubation time. When you see the first sign, it was already too late. And health officials always reacted too late and made things worse than they should. They should have acted in a predictive way. They didn't. And then the third one of the global failure is that when you do not predict, when you don't act predictively, then preventively, then you follow the sickness. You are always 2 weeks behind the virus. And then what you do, you are alarming the society. And the only way to deal with this, you have to close everything. You have to close the entire society. You have to close the businesses. You have to close everything, which actually trying to fix this issue, you are creating two big other issues: economic crisis and social crisis. Basically, you try to fix this issue and you create two other things. This is not sustainable approach, by the way. Sustainability has you have to fulfill all the criteria, meaning that you have to fix something, but to take care of all other connected issues. If you fix something, but you create two other crises, that's not sustainable. You have to deal at the same time with, we have to fix something. The same thing is in the industry. Same thing is in society. To be sustainable, what is sustainability? You have to protect the environment, but at the same time you have to develop the economy, and at the same time you have to develop the society. If you don't do it at the same time, you're not sustainable. And if you do not interact, if science and technology doesn't interact with the management and the education, any of those legs,
the table falls.
Everything destroys. What did we did in COVID? We took care only to close everything. Doesn't matter that we create an economic crisis. Doesn't matter we have a social crisis. Social crisis, I mean, people started, many sickness and many, these all are described in the article. But now I'm mostly interpreting in the viewpoint of sustainability.
But you've predicted some things, yes, in the article, like you predicted the rates of suicides, for example. Yes, and this happened. There was an
increase. That time there were no real suicide. It was in March. It was just starting. I predicted the suicide. I predicted the economic crisis. I predicted, I guess, overall, all the prediction in that article, and that article is so actual today.
Yes,
it's like written today. Actually, many people are speaking about this now, but these are speaking 1 year later. If you see TV emissions and news, etc., everybody is speaking for economic crisis. Everybody is speaking for suicides. Everybody is speaking with people that have normal illness and sickness. They have to go to the hospital. They cannot go. So there is the death from the virus is just one. But there are many other deaths because of suicide, because of not following chronic diseases as normal, etc., etc. So you have triple the crisis instead of by fixing one. We have tripled the crisis because the approach was not sustainable. And the public health officials have a great responsibility. They have been contradictory. They've changed the position several times, and they do not say sorry that we're wrong. They never accept it. They try to pass it under the rack because they think that people have a short memory. No, everything is predicted in my article. So if you're saying, if I was against the mask in the beginning, today I am saying here the same person that were against the mask in the beginning in TV's interviews in a public domain, they are saying we should keep 2 or 3 masks 1 year later. I mean, so this is something that has to be. This is not, although they are saying that's how science works. Because there are different studies and you can change the position. In a certain point of view is true. But it didn't happen like this. When the position was changed against the mask, to the mask, there was no study. Was only an interview from the head of the public health officials in China. When they asked him, Science magazine, when they asked him, what we in the West do wrong, he said, the only thing you do wrong, don't take masks. And then from that moment, everything changes. But there were no study to change the position. So this has been rushed this way, changed this way, has been, really, it's not a proud moment for public health officials.
Let me ask you a question specifically about this. Because of this, we can say it's the largest public health crisis in 100 years, right? And the largest sanitary crisis in 100 years. You've been talking a lot. We've talked a lot for the past year about this, about Rio SciTech. Yes, you already through Floating Star Outreach, this non-for-profit organization based in Montreal. Yes, you already organized the largest sustainability summit in the world, CIPS. Now you have a second summit, a second conference. What is the difference between Rio SciTech and CIPS?
Well, CIPS is deep. It is a scientific summit with its application and deep rooted in science. We have, as an average, about 12, 15 separate, a parallel session where science is dealt in depth. A real scientific symposium. The goal is to keep in mind this deep science symposium, how they serve the application, the sustainable application.
Okay.
And then the summit plenary lectures. Each of the plenary speakers makes a resume of their field, how this applies to the society and how this applies to sustainability.
Okay.
This particular part of CIPS, we wanted to make it a little bit wider.
Okay.
So this was the complement event we wanted to have in order to stress the application of science and technology into the society, into humanity.
I see.
So they are complementary to each other, and they create a bigger picture. Rio SciTech is more concentrated in the application, in the science and technology in direct application to the society, in all fields of the society. The CIPS started as mostly in scientific and industrial areas. Now it's much more than that. it includes medicine, includes technologies in medicine. But Rio SciTech will be concentrated exactly on this particular area.
On the new reality, post-COVID.
Exactly, on the new reality, post-COVID reality, and how science and technology help the society in this new world. The world after COVID will never be the same as before. And this is the purpose of Rio SciTech.
So late March 2022 in Rio de Janeiro, we are having Rio SciTech Global Conference for Humanity.
That's why the name, Global Conference for Humanity. Science and technology for humanity.
I see. And
applied in every field of humanity.
I see.
You name it. Technology is everywhere, and we are not leaving any of the fields behind. This is the link.
Good, good. And can we expect Nobel Prizes in this event?
Sure.
Yes. Are we going to have a world record? Because the world record is going to be broken in Thailand. Are we going to break it?
Yes, sure. We are always breaking the record. So that's if we follow the history, it should be like that. So Rio SciTech will be a spring, and SIPS will continue as always in late fall, beginning of the winter. Because as you know, we do it where it's always summer. So in December,
in Rio de Janeiro, it's summer.
I say fall, but it's actually exactly.
Summer. We usually say Rio de Janeiro
in the northern hemisphere, summer in the south hemisphere.
Yeah, but we usually say here in Rio de Janeiro that
bringing the whole world together in terms of seasons also.
Yeah, in Rio we usually say that we get very sad when summer is on a Sunday, when winter is on a Sunday, because we cannot go to the beach. Right now we cannot go to the beach much because of COVID. The beaches are closed today. Yes, and not accessible. And one of the things I hope that is very widely debated in Rio SciTech is solutions like lockdown or no lockdown. Because we cannot live like this forever.
These are the issue that will be openly debated. Where there is debate, open debate, there is solution, and there are solutions and sustainable solutions.
Well, one thing everybody agrees: we have to hear science, right? We have to hear science.
Yes, but the issue is this: that's one of the purpose of Rio SciTech, to really hear science, because the following science has become today, more like how can I say, like a facade than the real meaning. So you can hear many people saying, let's follow facts, let's follow science. The moment they say that, whatever follows from their mouth is nothing that follows science or follows facts. And then the end, I follow science, I follow fact. In between, they followed nothing.
I see.
So real science debated will be in Rio SciTech.
Dr. Florian,
this avoids misinterpretation. This is a very important point. If you openly debate ideas without censor, without any limitations, then you avoid conspiracy theories. They die. You avoid disinformation. They die by themselves.
Yes.
You avoid anything that is it's really a problem today. Because what today we are doing, we are ignoring. No, bring them in the open. When there is no truth, they die. When there is a debate, people can judge by themselves. And this is the best way to fight misinformation, to fight conspiracy theory, to fight disinformation, to fight
fake news, everything. Yeah, everything.
This is the best way to do it.
Now, Dr. Florian, I would like to thank you very much for this talk today, and I want to invite you for publicly, because we've been talking about this for a long time, but I would like to have you on a regular basis, like making a commentary about everything that is going on in the world, especially about COVID, about the pandemic, because I think this has to be really debated. And once in a while, we might have some other guests to have a debate with you, but it's going to be very, very interesting. Yes, I would like to thank you very much for this talk today, for this interview. It's always a great pleasure talking to you, and I'll leave you for the final considerations.
Well, it's very nice and a pleasure speaking to you. Somehow I did a resume of what we are doing, and I didn't think this way. The fact that you asked me for interview, they make me make a resume myself, because sometimes the ideas are in your mind, but you do not say them, and you do not speak about them. So that is an opportunity for me also to make an overview of what we are doing, and we see that we are in a strong path forward. Will be even more successful than we have been. So raising the bar as always. And now we'll have the complementary of SIPs that has been so successful. We have an event in the beginning of the spring. So it's a pretty good way of doing things. And I'm open for specific events, etc., like you are suggesting.
Well, thank you very much, Dr. Florian, directly from Montreal. And I'm Mario Linhares from Rio de Janeiro, and I'm glad to have you here. And see you next time.
Thank you, Mario. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
We'll be in touch. Bye-bye.
Okay.